It's question 48 from the textbook, and it's 1 plus tangent squared 5 degrees minus cosecant squared 85 degrees.
Okay. So not when we look at a problem, the idea may not come to you right away. So maybe this is one of them. But all we have is ratios. Tangent is sine over cosine, and cosecant is 1 over sine. And the other, I should have not recycled that just yet, because now I need it. And maybe there is no need to write it again. So let me just copy it from here or just use it. So again, we have sine squared plus cosine squared equals 1. 1 plus tangent squared equals secant squared. So that's a possibility to change it into secant squared. But if I do change it into secant squared, what do I do with secant squared and cosine squared? So maybe this is not the right option. But I already see that I have 1 plus tangent squared. That's very clear. Okay, let's consider another option. I have a cosecant squared. Oh, look at this. I have something that says cosecant squared of alpha is 1 plus cotangent squared alpha. I'm going to go with that. Okay, so I'm just going to replace this. Let me use a different color. If one of these colors you cannot see, please let me know, because here for me it's easier, but you're looking through a camera, right? So this is 1 plus, oh, maybe this is not a good color. So this is 1 plus cotangent squared 85. I like this idea because I already know from last week that tangent and cotangent are co-function identity. Are co-functions, first of all. So then I will say, I'll jump over this. I have 1 plus tangent squared 5 degrees minus 1 minus cotangent squared of 85 degrees. So these two go away. So now I'm debating with myself, knowing that, what are my props? Knowing that tangent squared 5 degrees is the same with cotangent squared of 90 degrees minus 5 degrees. How do I know this? So from the previous class, they're all true. Sine alpha equals cosine 90 degrees minus alpha. Cosine alpha equals sine 90 degrees minus alpha. You can say, what's the point here? What are you showing us? Same thing. Tangent 5 degrees is cotangent 90 minus 5 degrees, or vice versa. Cotangent 5 degrees equals tangent. They're all the same. Just remember, sine and cosine are co-functions. Tangent with cotangent are co-functions. So I did not write all 6, right? The other 4, but they are the same. So then I replace this by cotangent squared of 90 minus 5, which is basically cotangent 85. Okay, then I continue minus cotangent squared 85 degrees, of course. So therefore, cotangent 85 minus cotangent 85, the answer is 0. So always go back to basics. So the first option, yeah, but if I change the 1 plus tangent squared into secant squared, then what do I do with secant squared and cosecant squared? So the other option is the cosecant squared. But so cosecant squared of 85 is 1 plus cotangent squared of 85. So that's what I wrote here. So always have a list in your head. If you have to look at the list of formulas all the time, you may miss things. So try to understand them, try to write them several times so you don't have to look for every little thing on the list of formulas. I was just showing you where it was coming from. That's why, because I said, okay, Let me just use what I need. How is this?
It's good.
Perfect. Other questions for me? And is there anything else?
Could we maybe do another example of a problem like that? I'm still a bit confused.
Which part is confusing here? So let's address that.
I'm kind of confused how you got 90 degrees. Is that part of the verses or part of the formula?
Let me write it for tangent and cotangent. So we wrote this last week, so that's why I'm begging my students to redo the problems we did in class. Tangent alpha equals cotangent 90 degrees minus alpha and vice versa. Cotangent alpha equals tangent 90 degrees minus alpha.
Okay, and it's
So if alpha is 5, tangent 5 degrees equals cotangent 85 degrees.
oh, okay, I get it now. Thank you.
Good. Other questions? Anything else or any other problem that you encountered anywhere?
Wait, so would these problems always have it in radians? Or could it either be in radians or degrees?
90 degrees is the same with pi over 4, pi over 2. Tangent
But I'm
alpha
saying-
is cotangent pi over 2 minus alpha. Cotangent alpha is tangent pi over 2 minus alpha. 90 degrees, as we know, is the same with pi over 2. But you cannot write here pi over 2 because you cannot subtract pi over 5 degrees from pi over 2. If you're given, it's a very good question actually. If you're given degrees, then you have to use degrees. You cannot use pi over 2.
Okay.
If you have tangent squared, let's say, of pi over 3, tangent of pi over 3 is cotangent pi over 2 minus pi over 3. So if the angle is in degrees, then I have to use 90 degrees. If the angle is in radians, then I have to use pi over 2. It's a perfect question, actually. Is that okay?
Yes.
But they mean the same thing because 90 degrees is the same with pi over 2. But I cannot write here pi over 2 because I have 5 degrees. Good. Other questions? Perfect. Other questions, please? Anything? Okay, so if you remember anything, you can always stop me, please. Please do that. Okay, I want to share my screen and go through at least one more problem. Since you are still not 100% sure, so let's say 57, given tangent theta equals 4. You can choose another problem anytime. Feel free, please. In 57, I have the tangent theta equals 4. Use trig identities to find the exact value of. So I'm going to copy them so I can stop sharing. Secant square theta, part B, cotangent theta, part C, cotangent pi over 2 minus theta, and part D, cosecant squared. Okay. Good. So is there a connection between these two? Yes, of course. A very nice one. What is it? 1 plus tangent square theta equals secant square theta. This should be, the more you write it, the easier it becomes to remember it. So I have tangent. So if I have that this is 4 and I have to square it, 16 plus 1 is 17. So then secant squared theta equals 17. And I'm done. Any questions on this one? Any questions on this one? Okay, I'm going to go to the next page for cotangent theta.
Could you explain it again, please?
1 plus tangent squared equals secant squared. I am given that tangent is 4. 4 squared is 16. 16 plus 1 is 17.
Got it. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, let's move on to part B. So in part B, we want to find cotangent theta. But I know what cotangent is. It's 1 over tangent. So then cotangent is 1/4. Done. Any questions? Okay, so maybe I should write A here and B here, so it's very clear. Okay, let's move on to C. Any suggestions for C? So I'm going to write C here. They want us to find cotangent pi over 2 minus theta, knowing that tangent theta is 4. Can anyone tell us what does this equal to?
Professor, can I see the other paper really quickly?
I'm sorry?
Can I see the other paper really quick? Thank you.
Just cotangent pi over 2 minus theta. Can anyone tell us what this equals to? Before we even look at this number. Please give it a shot, please.
Is it 1 plus tangent squared theta?
So, cotangent pi over 2 minus theta equals,
Oh, just tangent.
that's it.
It equals 4.
Exactly, and equals 4, indeed. Excellent. Cosecant squared. So they want us to find cosecant squared theta. And we know, where are my formulas from last time? We do have a formula for cosecant squared. Aha. Cosecant squared is 1 plus cotangent squared. And I have cotangent squared. They asked me to find it. One over 16 plus 1. So then cosecant squared theta, 1 plus 1 over 16. So 16 plus 1, 17. So cosecant squared theta, 17 over 16. And that's it. Any questions? I
Can
cannot-
you do
Yes?
C over again?
I don't have anything to say. Cotangent pi over 2 minus theta equals tangent theta. Cotangent pi over 2 minus theta equals tangent theta. It's a cofunction identity. Is this okay? Please, everyone. Are these okay? Which part?
Yes.
Which part is not clear or is more difficult to understand, or what do you think? What is needed so we can move on from here? What is not clear? So they're basically 3 formulas plus the cofunction identities. So these 3 formulas and the cofunction identities. For sine, cosine, tangent, cotangent, and for cosecant, secant. Is this okay? Do you think we need other examples, or can we move on?
Can I get another example?
Okay. Is 59, that's identical, all steps. Is 59 okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's take a look at 59. In 59, we're given cosecant theta, which is 4. And they're asking us part A, sine theta. Part B, cotangent square theta. Part C, secant 90 degrees minus theta. And part D, secant squared theta. Okay. Good. So let's start with this one. Is there any relationship between cotangent squared and cosecant? If there is one, can anyone tell us what it is? Do we know?
1 plus cotangent squared. Oh yeah, equals I forget what CSC.
Cosecant, cotangent cosecant, squared theta. Excellent. Who was that, Charles?
Yeah.
Perfect. So we want to determine this. All I have to do is square this and subtract 1. So can anyone square 4 for us?
16.
Minus 1? Because I have
15.
So 16 minus 1 is 15. So cotangent squared is 15. So this is done. Perfect. Let's move on to this one. Is there any relationship between cosecant and sine?
Cosecant is the inverse of sine.
Exactly. Very good. So we have cosecant theta equals 1 over sine theta. Multiply them. Remember, in a proportion, we can do this. So I'm going to continue here because I don't have enough room. I never have enough room on these papers, as you know already. So when you say cosecant equals 1 over sine, you can say sine equals 1 over cosecant. That's how it works. If cosecant is 4, sine is 1/4. Done. Let's move on to part C. Secant 90 degrees minus theta. What does this equal to before we continue?
4.
Yes, because it's cosecant theta, which is 4. Excellent. Finally, secant squared. So secant squared theta is what the question is right now. And this was C, and this is D. Okay, and we remember cosecant theta equals 4. Okay, good. Is there a relationship between these two? No. But I know that secant squared theta is 1 over cosine square theta. Is there any way I can determine cosine or cosine squared? No, but I have sine. I have sine, which is 1/4. And I know a relationship between sine and cosine. A very important one is right here. Sine squared plus cosine squared equals 1. If I have this, I can determine this. If I have this, I can determine this. 1 has to be given to me, because otherwise I can't with 2 variables. But I have sine. Then I can determine cosine and plug it in here. That's all I need. So I'm going to write that sine square theta plus cosine square theta equals 1. And I have sine, which is 1/4 squared, 1/16, plus cosine square theta equals 1. And I have to move it to the other side. So then cosine square theta equals 1 minus 1/16. 16 minus 1 is 15. So cosine square theta is 15/16. I have the answer. Because secant squared is 1/this. Fine. Which means secant square theta 16/15. Any questions on this problem?